Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Biz Essentials podcast. I'm your host, Veronika, and today we're going to be speaking with alignment coach Marisa Wilke. For those of you who have been avid listeners of the Biz Essentials podcast, you've heard me talk about Marisa every time I talk about my alignment coach or my friend who's a coach or my friend who helps me with life and I help her with tech. This is her.
And so what I help people do is begin to reestablish that mind-body connection so that they can trust themselves. Imagine being able to wake up every day and know that really and truly you have within you what you need to face the entire day, any problem that comes up, and being so confident in yourself and your abilities that you can do that.
And I've asked her to be on the podcast because I know many of you are looking for that transformation in your life. With that, I'll be back with Marisa right after this.
Tony Robbins once said, "No matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you progress, you are still way ahead of everyone who isn't trying." This is the Biz Essentials. You want to grow, get ahead, keep the spark. Here you'll get valuable insights and empowerment to grow personally and professionally. Isn't it about time you turn your dreams into successful passion projects? Learn how to be productive, be successful, be joyful, and more importantly, be yourself. The B Essentials. This is the Biz Essentials. And this is your host, Veronika of Veronika Ventures.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Marisa. Marisa, I'm super excited to have you here because even though I know a lot about you, I would like to introduce you to my audience. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Hi, everybody. I'm Marisa Wilke of Well Balanced Healing Arts, and I am just like you, except I happen to have a few little gifts. And some of these gifts are being able to use my energy and my ability to help heal others. I am what you call a spiritual medium who can connect with angels and otherworldly beings to provide messages of hope and reassurance and life circumstances, advice for where you're at in your life right now, facilitate energy healings to help people get back into their bodies and remove any energy blocks that are kind of holding them back from moving forward and being in alignment with themselves. And I'm an alignment coach, which means a life coach that works with people long term to really bring a holistic sense of balance to their mind, their body, and their spirit. And the program that I use with that is called Whole is the Goal.
For those of our audience who are listening out there, if I could hear a collective eye roll, and then also the people who are super religious who are going, evil. Okay, I'm going to address both of those right now.
Let's do
So
it.
for those of you who don't want to listen, go ahead and feel free to click off. Totally cool. I would have been right with you a couple of years ago. Now, for those of you who have heard me talk about my really good friend or my alignment coach, the person who is partially responsible for this podcast, this is her, the woman, the coach, the legend, Marisa.
Thank you.
But for reals, those of you who question everything she just said, totally cool. I get it, but I've seen it happen and it's incredible.
Let me preempt that too and say that I questioned it for a long time. I am a neuroscientist by nature. I very much believe heavily in science, and that's been my world for 20 years in terms of my career, but always it's been my field of study. I am obsessed with the brain. I'm obsessed with how it works. And yet I have this whole other side of me, this very spiritual side of me that I've had since I was 3 or 4 years old. And now what I've moved into in this phase of the last 10 years of my life is really accepting and melding those two worlds together because there is a happy medium. There is a balance to that. You can be super spiritual and question. You can be super, super scientific and have a spiritual side too. So this is really kind of bridging that gap.
Just for those of our audience who might still have a little doubt, why don't you tell us about all the gajillion degrees that you have?
Okay. So I totally went to nerd school down at University of California, San Diego, UCSD, my alma mater. And I have degrees in neuropsychology. I have degrees in biopsychology, clinical psychology, and developmental psychology, which means that I spent almost 5.5 years there studying. I got 4 of the 6 degree specializations in psychology and neuroscience. So I'm a total geek and I live for that. In the holistic health realm, I'm equivalent to a nurse practitioner or physician's assistant in a system of medicine called Ayurveda. What? Ayurveda, like wisdom. That is the sister science to yoga, which most people know, where we utilize your food as medicine, your spice cabinet as medicine, and we use things like yoga postures, breath work, and meditation as medicine. So I have a certification there that took me 2 years to get and over 2,000 hours of study and clinical work to attain. Then most recently, I've become an NLP practitioner, and that fancy terminology stands for neuro-linguistic programming. And that means that I am trained to help somebody get into the subconscious, which is what rules our behaviors, our actions, and our thoughts, to reprogram ourselves for different behaviors and different ways of being. So like how many times, for example, has somebody started a diet and then thought, oh, like they try to do all these things and they end up self-sabotaging, or they say, this is the year I'm going to like work out, I'm going to get healthy. And then we do all these things. And that's because our conscious mind has one set of programming and our subconscious mind has another. So I really love working with systems like NLP that are proven to work. In fact, it's so proven to work that they use this with wounded warriors that have come back from places like Afghanistan because of its ability to be able to help them separate and deal with things like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I would say this: for all of your skeptics, the best way to describe what I do is practical healing. It's practical healing. These are things that you can apply that your brain is going to feel like, yes, I can do this. So for the skeptics, it's practical healing. We're going to give you advice and tips that are proven neurologically. Again, I go back to being science-based. Show me some evidence that it works. I know because I've tried it myself. I have that evidence too, and my legions of clients that have done the same. So yes, there's the healing side. There's the energy healing. There's this and there's that. But the bottom line is, does it work? Does it allow you to become more fully yourself? Does it allow you to step into the next greatest, grandest version of you so that you're whole, that you are filled with confidence, you create your own peace, and you know where you're going and your purpose?
Wow.
That's it. This is practical healing.
And that, I think, is a perfect segue into your Whole is the Goal program, because what does that guy say on the commercial where he goes, I'm not just the president, I'm a member too.
Right.
I've actually been through her Whole is the Goal program. It had a profound effect on me and changed a lot of my internal beliefs. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is because working with you is so much different than I've had with any other coach. And here's why. Through the trauma that I had in my life, I disconnected and I lived up here in my head. However, when I would try to work with a life coach or work through some of these issues that I knew I had, they would ask me, well, how do you feel? What do you think? What do you feel in your body? And I'd be like, I don't know. And that's where it would end, because I would have to just guess. I think this is how I should feel. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that, because I don't know what else to feel. Except for Marisa, because of all her wonderful abilities. She knows. She'd be like, check again. And she walks me through this wonderful process, and she's right.
It's not about being right. It's helping you discover. And the reason why do I do this? This is part of my why, right? Because I've been there. I've been where you are. And I'm very open in my day-to-day life, with family, with friends, with my children even, that the reason that I have become so good at this is because I've been through it. I've walked the walk. And now my mission is to help as many people as I can that have been through this. I've had PTSD. I've had night terrors where my husband shaking me, and all from like, except the man's not going to slap me awake, can't wake me up, because I've been in that situation. Have I had depressive episodes? I have. Have I lived with anxiety? I have. Until I got to the point where I learned so many different spiritual tools and embraced my gifts, the ability to feel what other people are feeling in their mind, their body, their spirit. When I began to accept that, things shifted. And now my goal is to help people like myself, like you, find a home again, not just up in their mind, because trauma, as you're well aware with, I've heard from your other guests, trauma moves you up into the mind because the body is not a safe space. And that's one of the biggest things we do is we reconnect and we bring balance to the mind, the body. And when the mind and the body start feeling safe, then we allow ourselves to really explore our spirituality and realize that we're so much more, and I know you know this term, than our meat suit. This is just a meat suit, guys. This is just a temporary house for your spirit and for your being. So I hope that kind of answers that question.
When people come to you, what are the types of things that you help them with?
One of the number one reasons that people come to me is because they feel like they're stuck in their life. They're stuck in a series of patterns or behaviors, whether it's thoughts, words that they speak, and actions that they take. And they're just like, I know that I can't do this anymore. They've hit their breaking point and their wall. And maybe they've followed me on social media. Maybe they know me in real life. And they said, I've seen your stories and your whatever, and it's inspirational. They're just like, I know that you can help me. I don't know how, but I know that you can help me. The next thing that people have an issue with is confidence. They don't trust themselves, and whether that was because of a trauma that they faced. And not all trauma is physical. People have been emotionally abused or verbally abused growing up, right? Maybe they weren't in an affluent space. And so their needs and their desires to be met, their basic things like food, shelter, having a sense of security, those all things can throw you off. And so when those situations happen, we dissociate from our body. And so we don't trust ourselves anymore because we have these mixed signals. And either we start placing all our trust in things outside of us. And so what I help people do is begin to reestablish that mind-body connection so that they can trust themselves. Imagine being able to wake up every day and know that really and truly you have within you what you need to face the entire day, any problem that comes up, and being so confident in yourself and your abilities that you can do that. So people need confidence. The other thing people are always like, peace. They're like, I just want some effing peace. Great, but they've never been taught how to be that way. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. And so I teach them, you know this, having been through the program yourself, the first thing we always do, everything is about the breath. The breath controls the mind controls the body. If you control the breath, then you can control both the mind and the body. And therefore, you're going to create peace. Because again, it's not external, you trying to pull it in. It's actually within you. And we just need to get the BS programming out of our own way so that we can be peace. Not necessarily have it, again, like externally, be it. And so those are some of the main reasons that somebody would come and find me. They just don't have the tools. I do. I've got the tools. I know because they work. I've used them on myself repeatedly. You've experienced them. And that's it. Like, are you looking for peace? Yes. Are you stuck and you don't know how to get out of this emotional, behavioral, whatever rut? Yes, then I'm your girl. If you are looking for just to create some peace in your life and confidence in yourself, trust in yourself and your decision-making abilities, then yeah, this is where you want to be.
Wow, you have such a zen voice. I'm over here going, ah. And I don't know if it's because we've done so many meditations, but I'm just like, I'm so calm right now. So I hope our audience is out there feeling the same. And actually, while we're talking about that, I want to let our audience know what you and I discussed. Marisa is actually going to be so kind as to record a meditation just for our viewers. So if you want to have that meditation, please go to thebusinessessentials.com, sign up to be on our mailing list, and we will be happy to send you the link to both the video and the audio version. So as I'm trying to think of all the questions that our audience might have, what would you say is the difference between working with a therapist and working with someone like you?
Ooh, great question. So first, let me say, first and foremost, I am a huge believer in therapy. I have been through therapy multiple times, at least 6 times since I was 18, where it was like at least 6 months to a year usually. And so I'm a huge fan of therapy, and I think therapy is great. The difference between a life coach and a therapist is that in my program, Whole is the Goal, it's outcome based. We get very specific about what you want to achieve in the 3 to 6 month time period of us working together. We have ways to measure that, and we do have goals for each and every session. So I meet with my clients on Zoom, and we have ways for them to be accountable every week to our sessions. We have ways for them to prepare for the next session, and we have a goal for each and every session. And therapy can be time-based, right? An hour and be like, sorry, we're out of time. And and I know you well know that in my program, Whole is the Goal, it's outcome-based. So for example, if a client and I get the outcome that we're looking for in that session in 46 minutes, we're going to wrap that session up and we'll state the accountability in those other action items. Conversely, if we need to go an hour and 10 or an hour and 15, which I've done and readily and happily do with my clients to get the outcome that we're looking for that session, we do it. But I'm not sitting here at my watch going, time's up. Sorry, we can't make sure that you have that breakthrough in the allotted 60-minute time frame. That's one of the big differences between therapy and life coaching or alignment coaching.
That's great. And that's very true. I was one of those ones that went over.
I was happy to do that.
I have so many questions. So for those of our audience members who aren't quite sure where to start or aren't quite sure if this is the program for them, can you give us any tips or tricks or tools that we could use, let's say when we start in the morning or as we find ourselves in a stressful place?
Yes, it all comes down to your breath. So we're going to provide this free resource for you guys, a meditation that I'm going to record just for you. But one of the tenets of the program is learning to create a stillness practice. Everything comes down to your breath. And as we're adults and we function in the world, we move into our chest when we breathe. We actually need to breathe into your belly. So I'm going to invite all of you that are listening, maybe you're watching, find that belly button area and breathe and bring all your attention and your awareness to that area and just below it. If you need to, pretend that you just ate a really big meal and you're like, hey, check out my burrito baby down below. I want you to just breathe that fully into that arena, into that area below the belly button. And just notice the belly. That's it. We're not judging how fast or how slow. We're just becoming aware of that space and that area. So again, the breath controls the mind controls the body. When we work with the breath and we control the breath, we can thereby control the mind and the body. So first things first in the morning, get out of bed and do what I call RPM. Rise, pee, meditate. And I teach meditation. One of the first things I teach, rule number 1, be comfortable. But don't meditate in your bed. We don't meditate where we sleep. Your bed is programmed your body for sleep. So you want to, at the very least, you can sit next to the bed, go find a quiet space, make a little meditation nook or a favorite chair with a blanket. No, rule number 1, be comfortable. Rule number 2, go in with no expectations. Your goal of meditation or having a stillness practice is not to clear your mind of all thoughts. Because if we make that the goal, we're never going to achieve it. I heard this from a man named Jim Callett. He's a yoga instructor. The mind is like a drunken monkey stung by a bee. And so if we're expecting that drunken monkey stung by a bee to like all of a sudden not be a drunken monkey stung by a bee, we have the wrong expectation. So going in, just knowing that we're going to learn and that it's a practice to be still and be with ourselves and our thoughts. And we're just going to observe them. And you can do that for 5 minutes. You can do it for 20. I had a period of 2.5 years where I was meditating every day in that space for about an hour to hour and a half. Life has shifted a little bit, so it's become shorter and more efficient. So that is a great way for you to begin your day. A great way to begin your day or a great way to end your day. For any of your listeners that experience anxiety, I would encourage you to keep a notepad by your bed and do some of this breath work before you get in your bed. And I want you to write down the top 3 things that you need to do or tend to tomorrow before you let your head hit the pillow. And the reason for that is that now we have written down and verbalized to our mind that we know this looming thing or things is going to be there for us when we wake up in the morning. And having that small practice will allow us then to go, okay, I don't need to like be that drunken monkey stung by a bee right now. It's time for my central nervous system to release and to step into sleep, which will allow me to awake refreshed, relaxed, and renewed. So that's just kind of a little small tip that I think could be helpful to some of your listeners. Sleep is so crucial to our health. And I think that not enough people pay attention to it because we think I've got to be to accomplish all the things I want. So what's the first thing that usually goes? Is sleep. And so it's such a crucial part of our healing. I can't stress it enough to make it a priority. Much like having worked with me, hydration is a priority. Your sleep becomes a priority. The stillness practice is a priority. But your sleep is where you will also process anything emotional, anything physical. That's the time for your body to actually repair itself. So if you work out, if you're a weightlifter, if you're a CrossFitter, if you're a yogi, maybe you're a runner like I was previously, this is that time. And unless we develop some really great sleep practices and health habits, our sleep gets compromised. So this is just one way that I can share back some advice, tips that are proven to work. And again, this is not just me. This comes from Vedic wisdom that is 5,000 years old. These are tried and true methods that work to help you rejuvenate yourself with your sleep.
And it's funny because I was totally one of those who fell into that trap. That and into the trap of I have to work all the time in order to be productive. Go, 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 go. So between your sage advice about sleeping and I think it was episode 10, Doug's sage advice about taking a break, which you've also told me a million times, which I never would listen to. I've tried it now. And it does make you more productive when you actually let your body and your mind rest, apparently.
It's a thing. Who knew?
Right? That whole rest, eat well, sleep.
And, grandma and grandma's grandma, man, they knew what they were talking about.
Speaking of ancient wisdom, I got to do something very cool with you not that long ago, actually. As part of our coaching, I got to do an energy healing. Why don't you tell our audience how that works? Because that was pretty incredible.
So what is this woo-woo energy healing you speak of? It boils down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Modern neuroscience is actually proving with studies at big, and I mean big name universities and institutions across this country and internationally. What they are proving is what Eastern medicine and philosophies in Buddhism and Ayurveda and the Vedic arts have said, that we have these energy centers or chakras. Each one of these energy centers has been proven, again, like I said, by science, to be connected to various systems within our body. So like, for example, the throat chakra is literally connected to our thyroid, right? Our solar plexus chakra, which is a few inches below our sternum, that energy center is connected to all the organs in there. And when we move through life from the time that we're a child, we may have traumas or incidents, car accidents even, words, thoughts that can throw the energy that resides in these energy centers or chakras out of balance. And again, I just happen to be able to, since I was a child, tune into people's energy and feel for where they're out of balance. And I use prayer and the openness to spirit or source, that which is greater than me, to connect the energy through my hands. And I lay them over people. They'll be laying fully clothed on a massage table with my hands generally above like the chest or midsection, and the energy from source will go in and rearrange, if you will, and restore the flow and balance to those centers that may have gone out of whack. And that shows up for people as feeling like maybe heat or warmth or a magnetic or something feeling like maybe taffy pulling. At the very least, people come away feeling like that is the most relaxed I have felt in, they'll say, months, years, like I don't know how long. And again, it's not about me. It's about being able to connect to source and help them step back into a state of balance.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't follow me on social media, if you go to my Veronika Ventures page, I did a whole live right after I came out of a session with Marisa, and I was like, I am so relaxed right now. I feel like I just came out of a 3-hour massage because it was very zen. And like I mentioned on multiple occasions, like lots of trauma. So we were working through some stuff, but it still felt very relaxing.
Your body stores energy, your body stores emotions, your body stores experiences. And so sometimes it's beneficial to utilize these energy systems to clear out that crap so that you can move forward in your being, in your body. and release those things that don't serve you so you can step into what I always call the next greatest, grandest version of yourself.
And yeah, and that's a fantastic point to make, because I think a lot of us can relate to I set these lofty goals and yet I keep fighting myself every step of the way. Like I keep sabotaging myself or doing things that I know is not exactly what I want to do, but I don't know why I'm doing it and blah. Like if you guys haven't been there, whatever. But I've been there lots of times.
Same.
And so I think that's one of the reasons that I would work so well with you. And then also with like this energy healing, it's like you get to work with those things that aren't exactly in your conscious mind. You can't make a decision to move past that when it's not your decision that you're making, if that makes any sense.
Exactly.
Like it's your body or your heart are making these decisions
it's
without
that
your
trifecta, right? I'm trying to make a triangle: mind, body, spirit. And what happens is that through life, like I said, instead of us having this really well-balanced triangle, we end up with this like isosceles and obtuse type of triangles, and we go back to ninth grade geometry. And we get skewed and off balance and off kilter. So having something like an energy healing session to bring that triangle back closer into balance and equilateral between mind, body, and spirit. Again, you're coming back into wholeness. And when we're into wholeness, we vibe different, right? You walk with your head a little taller. You have the confidence and you walk with an open heart. You trust yourself a little more when you're balanced in that way. So this is just another tool, another way to connect to the body and restore that mind, body, spirit, your authentic self, so that can come through.
For those of you who get that gut instinct or that intuition, that's because you're connected to that. If people would ask me, well, like, what do you think? What's your gut tell you? I'd be like, I don't know. I'm up here, guys. Like, my gut doesn't say anything. It wasn't until we started working together, I'm like, oh, I do have a gut. I have an instinct that I just have been ignoring my entire life because I was like, shut up.
Nobody ever taught you that there was wisdom in the body. Nobody ever taught you that your body holds messages. Nobody ever taught you that your body wants to connect with you. You get to have your own dialogue with it.
You touched on it a little bit, but I think it's hilarious and super interesting that now it's almost like Western science. We're like, oh, we know everything. And then all of a sudden we're coming right back around to things that have been part of this ancient wisdom that our ancestors all knew that we kind of thought was mumbo jumbo, that it's actually really true.
Right? And we, in the Ayurvedic tradition, we follow the seasons. We follow these certain patterns, even with sleep, right? And even with food. Here's one pro tip for all of your listeners. This is science-based. Follow the seasons with your food. Guys, blueberries grow in May, June, July. So generally speaking, they don't grow in December unless they're coming from another country. Eat what's in season because there are nutrients in each one of those. Right now would be the gourd season, right? The pumpkins, the squashes, all those things. Your body needs the qualities that are inherent in that food to bring you balance to mind, body, and spirit this time. Only now, Western medicine might look at it in a different way, right? They'll unpack the carbs and the proteins and this and that, and they'll say, okay, yeah, it produces this effect based on this. We look at it from a different point of view, a quality. So follow the seasons. Eat what's in season naturally. And your body and your mind might function a little bit better. I dare you.
I feel like I'm all over the place, guys, so I apologize ahead of time, but I'm just really excited to bring you today's episode because I've seen the change that it makes in my life, and it's incredible. Whether you go to Marisa or another person who is similar and just resonates better with you, like, it's amazing. And if you are starting this new year thinking like 2022 is where it's going to be at, like, this is what I want to do with my life. First of all, follow the Business Essentials. Also, follow Marisa and get connected with your true authentic self, with your higher power, whatever that looks like to you. Once again, if you would have told me this 2 years ago, I would have done a giant eye roll as soon as I turned around. But I'm here now.
Believe me, there's times when I go, really? I have to say that thing? Yeah, I do. And we follow it and we trust, and that it's okay, you know?
I can imagine. And that's all part of your spiritual mediumship. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? One of the things that I love that you do is your collective card pool.
Oh, yes, the daily collective card pool.
Seriously, I really do look forward to this every day. I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, ooh, let's see what Marisa said today. So tell us a little bit about that.
The card pool is, and I just had to figure out the other time, I think on a live we were doing, I own 35 different like oracle types of decks, whether they're angel cards or I own a few that are tarot cards. I own energy cards, stuff like that. And so every morning I will be told by spirit which deck to pull, and I'll shuffle through it in my way, and I get told when to get it. I pull the card, I post it for you guys. I put all the details about, who the artist was or who's the person and the message around that card. And I just love it. Like I do get quite a few DMs about, oh my gosh, this card is so on point. How do you do it? And I go, you know what, guys? I'm just the facilitator. Whether you're coming for, spiritual reading or me, I'm pulling a card for you. I'm just this facilitator. I'm just happen to be really good at being able to listen and connect to spirit, whether you call that God, whether you call that Buddha, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it Mother Nature. That's just kind of my gift. And so it's not about me. I'm doing this out of service. And I got told to. Like 3 years ago, Spirit told me on one of my angel walks that I needed to start recording videos and I needed to start putting this stuff out there. And I'm like, really? Who am I to do this? And then the thought was, who are you not to? Are you going to argue with like upstairs management? Really?
Yeah, right. And I hear that so much from guests and from listeners that a lot of the times before they get started on the path of where they are now and following their passions, they hear those little nudges for a long time before they listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not alone in that. And often your messages are the little nudges that are in the back of my head going, oh, God, I feel so called out, but in a good way. And what's funny to me is, like I said, I often wake up in the morning like looking forward to these, but every once in a while, I don't get right to it, or I pull it up and I'll screenshot it, but then I'm like, oh, I got caught in doing something else. And then like a day or two later, I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I don't think I ever read that one. And I'll read it and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to read it today. That's why I didn't have time. And it's really, really weird, but also very awesome.
It's so amazing how that works too. I have my own YouTube channel, much like you, and I do a free weekly collective reading. When I'm recording that, I'll even say like, maybe the message resonates with you today, or check throughout the week. Whatever comes up is when you're supposed to hear it. I have that much faith and that much trust in spirit that it's going to align when it aligns. And you'll realize maybe later that week, oh, that card, that was this situation. It's really neat to see that happen and unfold for people.
And what's funny is I'm a subscriber to your YouTube channel. Every once in a while, one of your videos that I may have missed or haven't watched in a while will pop up on my feed in YouTube. And I was like, all right, Spirit, I hear you. And I hit play and I'm like, oh, I feel so seen.
You see, and we do the live readings together too, once a month in my private Facebook group. And you guys will hear me say it, like she can't bleep me out on that one. but like I'll be doing readings and I'll be like, oh my God, you can't make this shit up. Like I just can't, or I'll be on with a client and sometimes we'll do like in our holistic program, I do a card pull for clients in every session. It's either at the very beginning or it's at the end. And sometimes like when it's at the end and we've already been through it and we pull that card, myself and the client were just like, oh my gosh, this could not be more in tune and aligned with. And even though I do this on the regular, it still doesn't cease to amaze me and surprise me. And I love that.
It is really amazing. And for those of our audience who are wondering what we're talking about, Marisa has a private group called Mystical Moments with Marisa the Medium. And at least once a month, her and I do a live on her channel. And every once in a while, I'll stream it to my Veronika Ventures page as well. And basically, if you're there and you comment with your name, she'll pull a card and give a message just for you.
There will be an update too. I just wanted to share this with you guys. There will be an update because the name of the group is actually going to morph. So the name that will be going forward will actually be the Spiritual Seekers Collective.
Ooh, I like it. And here's the deal, guys. I had a really hard time with the spiritual side of my life. Just to put it there. Like I said, my family, more Catholic than the Pope, but I have daddy issues. And so the whole God, Father thing was really hard for me. And it wasn't until I started working with Marisa that I was actually able to open up to my spiritual side on an entirely different level. And I can see now the way that has worked in my life and how things have unfolded. And if you're not there yet, totally cool. But I would suggest that you either follow Marisa on social media or just pop by one of the lives and open your mind a little bit, because to me, it was literally mind blowing. I know how it is to be skeptical of these kind of things, but I've been on these lives with you with people who are my friends because I'm streaming it to my page, who you don't know at all, not even like a little bit. And since it's live, it's not like you can go Google them. So there's no like, she knew already. And there's like very detailed information that you'll say. And in my mind, it's like, I know it's true in their lives. And they'll text me later and go like, oh, I can't believe she said that. This blah, 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 blah. Like,
and you know what? 80% of my clients that come for spiritual consultations or spiritual mediumship, I've never met and I don't know anything about them other than, oh, you're seeing this client today at 5 p.m. It's amazing. I love that. That's the element of surprise. And that's the level of connectedness and trust. In any profession, you're going to have people that excel at what they do, people that are good at what they do, and people that are substandard.
The reason I keep bringing up all these personal insights is because I know, like I said, how much it's changed my life to work with you. And I know that, not every coach is for every person, but I encourage you out there, listeners. The one thing that I've learned in all of the podcast interviews that I've had, if you feel like a nudge, like you need to work on something, whether you believe that's God or spirit or just your own higher self, that nudge is there for a reason. Somebody, something, even in your own heart is telling you to listen to it.
Yes, absolutely. And first, just be open to that possibility. And again, I have no stock in whether you call whatever you believe that's greater than you, God, the universe, Mother Nature, spirit. I have no investment in that. And so it's just really knowing that there is something bigger than you that you're a part of. So it's amazing. Like I love it. And coaching and Whole as a Goal is also helping you understand that life is really happening for you and not to you. I have my human moments where I'm like, this is happening to me. And I'm like, nope, it's for you, for you, for you, for you. Damn it. For you, for you, for you. It's happening for you, not to you. But really and truly, until we shift our mindset that some of the worst moments in my life were actually truly the best, because that's what allows you to grow. It doesn't feel like you're growing. It feels like a pain. It's growing pains, right? It feels like a pain when you're in it, but that's what allows you to grow.
Yeah, and those of my audience who have heard my personal story on other people's podcasts, a lot of the things that in my life I was like, I felt like I was going to die under, like you feel like it's the worst thing ever. Now I can see it as how it has helped me and benefited me how I am now. One night I was up all night because I felt like I was being tortured by all this stuff that my kid was going through. And all of a sudden I started having this idea for the center. I'm like, I have all the insight. I have all the insight of how hard it is to be an adult working through that. I have the insight of how hard it is to be a parent, helping my kid. And all of like the people that I've met in my life and all of these things that have happened. And it was all like delving into this idea, right? But at the same time, like all of these things that were making this idea possible were things that at the moment felt like my world was falling apart.
Felt like a shitstorm, didn't it?
It did. And I was like, oh, that's why. So all of this crap that I thought was going to kill me was actually the reason this exists.
Exactly. And that's literally being the eye of the storm. The center of the hurricane is where it's calmest. And how do you step into that moment when everything around you feels like a hurricane or a tornado or a storm? Come back to your breath again, over and over and over, because that's where the freedom is.
Yeah. That's actually one of the mantras that I think was most helpful for me that you came up with through one of our coaching sessions, which I always loved because the mantras and the affirmations that you would give me were always kind of my words back at myself, which made them all that more believable for my brain. But every time I get into one of those moments, I always have to remember one of the things that you told me, which is focus on the effort, not the outcome. And every time I get in one of those, like, what am I going to do? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I have to remind myself, like, you can only do what you can do. And then after that, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So you give your best effort. It's also learning in that moment to have some grace and some compassion for yourself of what your best is, because your best is going to change from hour to hour, from day to day, year over year. And so learning to accurately assess, where am I right now? And what is the best that I can truly give in this moment, and be satisfied with that effort, knowing that you're working towards an outcome, but you're giving it your best. That will also allow you to put your head down and sleep, because you gave it your best effort on that given day, that given moment.
I love it. And I actually forgot about that conversation you and I had one time, which was super impactful for me as well. When I was having a really hard day, we were talking because it was part of our coaching, and I was like telling you all about this terrible day I was having, and like, but I got to do all this stuff, but I can't do all this stuff because like my mind is like, and you were like, Veronika, you always want to be a 10, like 100% effort. But if it's 0 to 10, if you're a 2 today, be the best effing 2 you can be.
Be the best effing 2 you can be, because some days are just 2.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's like part of what I call practical healing, right? You can't wish yourself into a 10 if in your heart of hearts and in your body, whatever, you're a 2. Making some peace with that and going, cool, maybe tomorrow's a 7. I don't know, but I'm going to be the best 2 that I can be right now.
And I think that was super impactful, because I would get mad at myself thinking like, I know I can do better. I did better yesterday. Yesterday was great. What the hell?
Yesterday was a different energy. Yesterday was different people. Yesterday was different circumstances. Yeah. I'm so glad that was beneficial for you.
It really was. I'm glad you brought it up, because I think, if anything, I hope our audience got a little clue of what it's like to work with you, a little clue of what it's like to be connected to yourself, and some tools and strategies to help them get there. But also just these little tidbits of like, when you hear something and it just, sometimes you even just store it and you don't really hear it, but later it bounces back at you and you're like, oh. So I hope that did that for you guys today.
Awesome. Me too.
Anything else? Because I feel like we keep coming back, but there's so much to say. We should do a mini series. Marisa has so much knowledge. You guys need to hear it all.
20 years, $400,000 later? You bet. No.
Right. I know, right? She knows everything.
Go no.
Okay. Spirit knows everything and she's connected. How about that?
That works.
Very cool. Before we wrap up, Marisa, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram at marisa.wilke, and we'll spell it for you, marisa.wilke. You can find me on the Google at wellbalanced, with a D, healingarts.com. And like I said, we have a private Facebook group that will be changing its name very soon and morphing into Spiritual Seekers Collective.
Absolutely. And guys, for those of you who are driving or listening to this on the podcast, all of those links will be in the show notes for you. If you're on the YouTube, you should be able to see them on the screen, but they'll be in the description as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that we want to touch on, Marisa? Anything that I may have missed?
I think that you covered it all. I will just leave your listeners and viewers with the same thing that I end all of my readings or YouTube channel with, and that is to just be the light.
I love that. And that goes with my whole keep the spark.
Hey.
All right, guys. Thanks again so much for listening. I hope at least I provided you a laugh, some knowledge, some tools. And once again, all of Marisa's links to her social media, to her webpage, to her programs, to that freebie that she was telling us about, the meditation, which you definitely need to check out. All of that will be in the show notes. And if I can't seem to cram it all in there, if you don't see it in Apple Music, head on over to thebizessentials.com and all of that will be there. Marisa, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know I've learned a lot, even though I thought I knew everything there is to know about you. And I hope our audience did too. And guys, I'll be back to wrap up the show right after this. Guys, if you're still here, if you're still with me, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. I hope that some of the knowledge that Marisa imparted or my own personal stories connected with you and may have brought you that message that you were meant to hear. Guys, I know that sounds strange, and trust me, not that long ago, I would have been eye-rolling right with you, and I know I've said that multiple times in today's episode, and that's truly the skeptic that I was. Even though Marisa's my friend and I've known her for such a long time, I trusted in her abilities and not so much in the universe or spirit, which I know sounds weird, because that's where she gets her connection from. And I know that the messages that she speaks, it has changed the way people see the world, and I think that's incredible. And so, if today's episode connected with you, connect with yourself, connect with what it is that you really want to do in life. Listen to your gut, listen to spirit, listen to the universe. It's okay if you're still eye rolling. Just know that you do have a higher purpose and you can connect with that. Whether it's just listening to the episodes that we've put out so far, or by connecting with Marisa or someone else who resonates with you. Only you are you. I know that sounds obvious, but a lot of the times we don't realize the power and the strength and the things that we were made for are only ours. And so please share it with the world. If you have questions, if there's a particular guest you would like to hear on the podcast, please send me a message. I would love to have a question answered for you or find that particular speaker that you've always wanted to hear. If you liked today's episode, please leave us a review, share it with a friend, help us grow our audience so that we can bring more of this content to more and more people and help them change their lives as well. And of course, go to thebusinessessentials.com and sign up for our mailing list so you can have this content and other exclusive content sent directly to your inbox. I promise we won't send you a ton of junk mail. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time on the Biz Essentials.
You've been listening to the Biz Essentials. Thanks for listening to the show. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information, learning how to be productive, be successful, be joyful, and more importantly, be yourself, and turning your dreams into successful passion projects. By listening to this show, you've already set into motion the most important part, starting. So it's important to catch the next episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. In the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Veronika Ventures and at the Biz Essentials. Till next time, this is the Biz Essentials.
Today's quote of the day is by poet E.E. Cummings. He once said, "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are." So guys, go out there, be your true authentic self, and let's make 2022 our year. Thanks again for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time on the Biz Essentials. Bye.